Hello everyone. Hi, this is Sunil here, and today we will be going through how to monitor and manage the network infrastructure with D-Link network management solution. First of all, thank you for your time for attending this webinar. Still, people are joining us, so I think we should wait for 2-3 minutes more, and then we will start our journey throughout the presentation. All right, great. Okay, so here we go. We will start this presentation, which will cover your network, how to manage, how to monitor, and how to monitor the network infrastructure, and wait. I think the file is not shared properly. I will share it again. Okay, we have enough attendees now. Okay, so we'll start our presentation. So today's presentation is basically talks about today's presentation talks about monitoring and managing network infrastructure with D-Link DV solution. Okay, so here is the screen which will tell you about D-Link features and the products that it supports. If we talk about major features like inventory management, comprehensive monitoring, alarms, visibility of IT network, multi-tenant capabilities, centralized reporting, these are basically first let us understand how and what the D-Link network management system will help you out. NMS is basically used for managing and monitoring your network infrastructure. This is the tool or this is the application which will help you in day-to-day monitoring and managing your network infrastructure. The two things are very important for managing your devices. The one is an SNMP app protocol, which is used for taking the inputs from the devices by NMS server, and another is basically DView network management server. So these two parts basically plays client server architecture, where server is your NMS and client is your device, SNMP device. It can be any device which supports SNMP v1, v2, v3 or any other protocols to manage the information. So basically what happens, NMS server, in this case it is DView, is basically pull the information from SNMP devices end nodes, okay, and store in its database. So when the information is stored in the database, it will give you this replication in the dashboard. So for example, all products inventory, it will store into the database. For example, if you have, let us say you have 50 switches, 100 switches, or you might have wireless, you might have IP surveillance in your network. So it will discover the complete network in one shot, in first round. Then it will store the information about the inventory, like number of access point, number of switches, their serial number, their versions, their firmware versions. All these informations get stored into the database of DView, and then this information will be showcased on the dashboard. So this is the basic understanding of network management system server. All right. So in this case, SNMP is a protocol which is used by SNMP nodes to transmit the information to NMS DView, and then how DView articulate the information, and it will show you what actually you need. This is basically part of today's discussion. Okay, myself Sunil, I'm the part of solution consulting team, and along with me I have Santosh Yadav, which basically will give you a brief demonstration of DView and the switches configuration. He will show you how the switch will get configured, and once the switch will get configured, how it will get registered with DView. So this is how about we'll have 10 to 15 minutes of demonstration at the end of the presentation. Okay, so now let's talk about how DView will help you out. DView will help you out in inventory management. That means it will store the information of all the inventory related data. Inventory means it is like number of access point or number of switches, number of IP cameras, then it's a number, then it's a firmware version or software version of the devices, then the information about the number of ports up, down, all this information are basically part of the inventory management. So this information will be stored into the database. Second, it talks about the comprehensive monitoring. That means DView can pull the information. What are the protocols to pull the information, like SNMP, SFlow, NetFlow? These are the protocols which help you to monitor and get the information. So it is again the part of DView feature set. The third thing about the alarm via email and the applications. So basically, whenever there is an alarm, or you can say whenever there is an event, so event basically talks about, for example, if your branch is connected with the headquarters, or your your network is disconnected from your switch is disconnected from the network. That time is basically send an alarm notification to DView, and at the same time DView will send that alarm information on the email, so that it will be helpful to proactively react to those alarms, to those events. Okay, so alarm and the email notification is supported by dealing DView, which will give you proactive measures to stop or to come to the conclusion to conclude the issue. The third thing is about the visibility of IT network. It will give you the topology view, where in topology view it will show you the number of switches connected, number of wireless connected, number of cameras connected in your network. It will give you how they are connected. It will give you the total information of it will give you the brief about the topology, like the things how they are connected, whether they are connected in star, whether they are connected in ring, or whether they have multiple sub rings. So all this information will be part of your topology. So the thing about the last about the multi-tenant capabilities is basically DView. When you have multi-tenant architecture, for example, you have an HO in Mumbai, then we have branch offices across the geo location, like in Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, or in Bhubaneswar. Like these are the branch offices which are connected to HO. Then in that case, DView has the capability to show the information of each and every branch, the devices which are connected in the branch, how these devices are reacting to the network, how these devices plays an important part into the network. Everything will be showcased to you through DView. Okay, so and definitely, so it has centralized reporting, which will give you hundreds of reports to help you out. Basically, what kind of for fault notification, or it will give you troubleshooting steps, to come out to conclude the issues. So centralized reporting is also better part of DView. Okay, then the thing is that how DView these are the features of DView. Now we can see that the DView, any SNMP device, any device whether it is a wireless access point or whether it is a server, whether there is switches, routers, CCTV cameras, any devices supporting SNMP, SFlow, NetFlow can be connected to DView. Now it can be a rack also with SNMP support. Got it? So there are some today you will also find some smart racks, or you will also find some third-party devices like we have Cisco, HP. I mean, these devices can also connect to the DView, and DView will give you more insights of these devices also. So dealing basically plays an important part. It has very vast features, and it will also give you vast connectivity, and almost every network devices which is supporting SFlow or which is supporting SNMP V1, V2, V3 can be managed or monitored with the D-Link, DView. So this is some of the kind of, I will say, overview of D-Link features. I mean, the first is about the real-time network analysis. Yes, it is a real-time network because all the data pulls from the switches, routers, or end devices is in real time. Every second, every fraction of second, or there is a every polling interval, DView pull the information from the network devices, and it will store that information into the database. So everything happens, which is a real-time network analysis. Second thing is has SFlow analyzer. That means all the packets, the instead of SNMP, if the end node uses SFlow, then DView has capability to capture the packets or to analyze the SFlow packets, which is more in-depth monitoring of your devices. The third thing is about the role-based administration, where you can create multiple roles, for example, DView can be managed or monitored, and you can assign the roles to the user. For example, there will be an admin user, or there will be a guest user, or there will be a user with the lower rights. For example, admin can view anything, but some other users might have only view access. They cannot modify anything. The third thing can be accessed. For example, it's in case of multi-tenant network. It's a branch 1, branch 2, branch 3, or HO. Then we can assign the viewing rights only for the particular branch. That means user A can be accessible only to branch 1. He cannot access to branch 2. So it's a very good role-based administration. You can assign any rights to anything. You can assign add, view, delete rights to the user, and it will give you very good control over the control over the network or over the network management. Then it has good, great dashboard. On dashboard, you will find many things on the dashboard. Santosh will show you on the dashboard the demo of the devices. It has got centralized reporting. Just now we have seen that it is got highly and flexible, scalable deployment. In the sense, like it will also support the active, or in case one of the DView fail, another DView can take over in the within no instant. Okay, so it can be with NLB, network load balancing feature. You can definitely have cluster architecture with D-Link, DView. So it's like active backup or active communication between the devices. So it will give you edge redundancy in case primary fails, secondary is available. The third is about the next application is rich resource management. Yes, we can very well manage the resources. Inventory management, we have seen. Batch configuration will give you. Batch configuration is basically batch configuration and firmware management will give you upgrading of the firmware in hundreds of devices or tens of devices at a single shot or at a single time. That is the batch configuration. For example, if you want to configure, you want to change the SSID of the access point from today to tomorrow, then you can just select all the access point, change the SSID, and it will apply to the all in batch configuration to all the devices. So this is basically scalability. This is basically the flexibility given by DView to manage and monitor your entire network. It has also got remote management app, so that app will give you information on the hands and palm of your hand. So like DView is a software, so it has to be installed on the hardware, or it has to install on the server. So these are the minimum specs which is supported, which is required by DView. DBeev can also be installed on Windows 10, and it can also install on the Windows Server 2019 to 2012 or 2016. But apart from that, it can also be installed on the Ubuntu and the Debian, which are the Linux version. Okay. So the database is a common, which we call as a MongoDB database 4.0. MongoDB database will be the common, okay, and it will be automatically installed along with the DBeev software. We don't have to install the database separately or download or install the database separately. It will be part of the DBeev installation. And DBeev can be browsed by the web browser Microsoft Edge. It can be with Firefox, Safari, and the Chrome. So all these browsers are supported on the client architecture for the DBeev while accessing the DBeev. So I will just give you just brief where, like just now we have seen MongoDB server, web server, and the core server. They are part of the core architecture of DBeev. Okay, where database is used for the storing the information. Web server is basically helpful for viewing, dealing DBeev in a browser, and core server is basically involved in the architecture of all the core server. Basically part of all it is architecture. Okay, so this is core architecture which control all the modules, kind of. Then this is just, as I mentioned, NLB is basically network load balancing services, which will help you to tackle the DBeev active passive. So for example, if there are two numbers of DBeev installed, then one number of the DBeev will help you with the redundancy if another fails. So this is the idea behind that. And as I mentioned, third-party devices can be managed with the devices like Cisco, HP, Aruba, and any other OEM can be managed for the public MIB with the DBeev devices. Okay, there is a wizard. There is a wizard. Definitely, you can. It's very helpful for you. For example, to this first job is to discover the devices. Second job is to monitor the devices, and third job is to set the alarm for the devices. So we have to follow the wizard. It's very simple. So DBeev dashboard will give you this information where you can see it's very flexible, it's very good, and it's a very enthusiastic dashboard which will give you information about DBeev. Then there are many more information. All informations are real-time information, and you can see that overview. It will give you the number of devices which are up, down in your network. It can manage switches. It can manage wireless. It will give you host. That means any device which will give you the host supporting SNMP. It will also give you information about the PoE switches and the Explore devices. Okay. Then apart from that, if you see like hourly or daily or weekly or monthly or quarterly data, it will give you it will also give you real time and as well as historical information for the SIG. Then apart from that, it will also show you the information with the pie chart. As you can see that different alarm warnings, there are 4 critical warnings and 1 informative warning. So warnings are basically divided into the 6 parts. It will give you informative warning, criticals. You know, these are the multiple types of warnings, multiple kinds of event notification that will give you in terms of alarm statistics. So you can find the information from every network perspective. Here we can see. I think Santosh has added a wireless access point and switches. 3 switches he has added. So he will show you AP you have added. Sorry, camera you have added. So camera is not added, but one access point and the 3 switches and the router also, Cisco router here also he has added. Yes. So these things Santosh will definitely going to give us a good information about how the demonstration, where you will find more information about this dashboard, and the he will take you through the dashboard monitoring configuration part. Okay, let's talk about some basics of as I mentioned, SNMP is the protocol which is used for the communication between server and the SNMP server and the agent. So SNMP will give is a simple network management protocol. It works on UDP port 161, 162. Okay, it will help you to monitor networks from single point of view. It is basically server client architecture to give you server and agent relationship. Okay, at the agent side, that means at the node side, like for example switches, wire, APs, and the routers, you may have it runs on the MIB object and the messengers. There are 3 types of SNMP versions: V1, V2, V3. of which V1 is obsolete now because there was no security, and all username, password, or you can say all SNMP strings basically send on the plain text. So anybody can capture that plain text and you can contemplate your network. And that's the reason V2C comes into picture, which is the more encrypted than the V1, and it supports only authentication, but it doesn't support encryption. So that is the reason V3, which is more secure more secure, and it supports both authentication as well as encryption. Okay, so if you see banking network or some other critical networks, then you will find V3 to be is a part of configuration. Okay, so you must have seen this type of star architecture in your network, or it's kind of, you have one core switch, and then you have multiple switches and the access points and the cameras are which are connected to the PoE switch. So this kind of architecture basically is part of many networks. So when you configure DView and when you will assign the IP address of the devices, it will automatically build a topology and it will show you this type of same topology in the network. Okay, but the thing is that with DView you cannot record or you cannot see the camera stream. You can only monitor the camera and manage the camera. Okay, so this point is clear. Okay, this is the ring architecture again. Then it's the same thing. This is the switch configuration command. This to be configured because whenever network management systems comes to picture, you have to configure server as well as client. So in this case, we have Node as a client. So all like switches, routers, or access point on the IP cameras or the any network device has to be configured for the SNMP. So the same way this slide shows switch configuration command. So SNMP V2C configuration and SNMP V3 configuration example is given to you for the reference. So for SNMP V2, you can see SNMP server you have to enable. Then we have to enable SNMP server community, public and the private read-write strings. Okay, here in this case, read-write RW is basically for the read-write. Okay, so D-Link is the key. So this is basically version, what version you are using, and this is basically string. This is the private string, and this is a private string which you can use to read write. It has got more access than the read only. Public string. Okay. Then SNMP server host 10.0.0.6 is basically IP address of the SNMP server. That is your DView server, NMS server. Okay, and this is the key. Then if you see about for the SNMP V3 configuration, then you will find SNMP server group D-Link V3. V3 is nothing but your version read community view. The SNMP server user has to mention, and it has to go with the authentication SHA AES 128. So AES is nothing but the encryption, which will give you 128-bit encryption, which is more powerful than MD5 or SHA kind of technologies. So as I mentioned, SNMP V3 do support authentication as well as also support encryption, and you can see encryption here, but you cannot find encryption in SNMP V2C. So this encryption is supported in SNMP V3, and again this 10.0.0.6 is the host name or DView server name. Okay, this is the switch configuration. I'm going to the next slide. Okay, this slide will give you more information. I have just 4 to 5 slides to run now. Then Santosh will take over. But before that, I will just want to give you on the real-time dashboard, web design, performance monitoring, monitor map, monitor topology view, and inventory management. And we also support virtual rack view. Virtual rack view is basically, for example, you have 10-story building, and on every floor you have a rack. Okay, and this rack is connected to multiple switches, access points, and the surveillance network. Then you can create a rack view, and in that rack view you can in fact drag and drop all the devices which are part of this rack. Okay, and it will give you very clear-cut information about the network. In fact, very in-depth information about the network. All right. Then another good thing is that, as I mentioned, like for example, if you have multiple branches, then for example, branch A, branch B, branch C, and which are connected to the headquarter, then these branches can also be managed and monitored from the headquarter. Okay. Now you will say, like for example, these branches, if they are connected on the VPLS or a layer 2 network, then there is no any problem. But in case if you want to talk, if you want to monitor them behind NAT, okay, if there is a NAT network, for example, you have VPN connectivity with the headquarter. In that case, what you will do? In that case, you have to have NAT at the branch office. Okay, and if there is a NAT, then no one can monitor your NAT, monitor your devices behind NAT. Okay, because NAT basically surpass all your layer 1, 2, 3 information. Okay, because NAT is basically help you to stop the outside communication from the LAN. So you cannot access any information, SNMP information over the net, over the internet. All right. So for that reason, what happened? DView support probe. Okay. What you have to do? You have to install the probe on every branch office. Okay, which is behind NAT, and all these branch offices probe collect the information of the local branch, and then this probe will send the information to the HO server, HONMS server over the internet. Okay, because probe basically have tunnel with the server installed in the HO, and through that tunnel they pass the information. Okay, so in this way, the communication between the DView at the headquarter and the DView at the branch offices can be sufficed. Okay, so there will be no any problem for monitoring the devices within the local LAN or within the remote branch offices, even if those branches are behind NAT or double NAT or behind firewall. We don't have any issues as such. Okay, then again there will be a, as I said, there are multiple charts like pie chart, donut chart, bar chart or line chart to show you the information. So because what is the information, if you visualize to the chart, then it will be very much registered in your mind, and it will give you clear-cut information for the network inventory or network management or any alarms or anything. So this basically real time, and if you have multiple chart structure. I just mentioned 3, but there are so many, again, so many charts you can see in the DView. Okay, then again, like you have MRTG kind of structure, like where you want to see bandwidth per port per minute, or you want to see, if you want to see the number of wireless client connected to the access point. So this information will be shown in the graphical ways. Again, this is the inventory management system page where you can see system name, IP address, it's a firmware, it's a serial number, or it's a hardware version. It can be seen. This is the part of inventory management. Okay, so it will give you more clarity, more information. You don't have to note down the information of your switches and the firmware and the their hardware version, serial number. You don't have to keep the track of everything on your Excel or anything. It is ready-made that you will get in DView. Okay, then you have multiple things, multiple parameters. You can also see the panel. You can see the panel DGS3200-10. So of which at the downside, bottom side, you can see port number 4 is green. So that means something is connected to that port. Okay, and that port is live now. If that port is red, that means there is a link disconnection or some major issues happens. Okay, so in that case, now there is a more granularity reports you will find. For example, on port number 4, 1/4, you will find the port speed is 1000 Mbps, that is 1 Gbps, but incoming traffic is 1.87, outgoing traffic is incoming packet is 26.5 megabytes and outgoing is 25.72 megabytes. So it will give you very good information about the live network, the bandwidth, incoming bandwidth and the outgoing bandwidth for the port. Okay, then you have a topology view where you will find this kind of information, how your network devices are connected. So this is a part of topology view. So it will give you it will give you information about the topology view. In case any critical alarm, you will see, for example, if this DS3528 switch fails, then our link disconnects. That time it will raise the critical alarm that can C is for the critical, W is for the warning, and I is for the information. Okay, so this kind of alarms can be created. If your link is down, then then green link automatically turn to red. Okay, so this information will be helpful to you. If you then if the device or link gets down, that time you will in link information when you will click, or if you will click on any green link or red link, it will give you information. Like for example, DGS1100 with this IP address of DGS110016 ka port 1/13 is connected to 4/28 of port number 1210. That means point-to-point devices information, and that information it will give you very clear-cut information, or it is give you upstream and the downstream bandwidth also, and the live status timestamp. So this is very good information. Apart again from site, as I mentioned, site ABC, it will give you show you VPN tunnel. If the link is not come, then you also have the facility to draw the virtual link. So all these informations are there. As I mentioned, rack view. In rack view, you can drag and drop the switches of the particular rack on the particular floor. Then if you, for example, if you want to see anything on the floor number 8, then you can click on floor number 8 and and it will give you, it will expand that rack, and it will show you all the panels of the switches and the devices in that rack itself. So it is very easy and very flexible to manage the devices. These are the monitoring parameters. For example, switches do support SIP utilization or safeguard engine or any switches or any devices whose SIP utilization or memory utilizations are more than 90%, then it should give you critical alarm. So this is up to you, that you can set this rule, you can configure this rule, you can command these rules. Okay, for example, if you want SIP utilization, if the SIP utilization is more than 80%, then the event type should be critical. That time it can you can configure it that. If you want traffic packet more than 10 Mbps, if you don't want this to be info, if you want this to be warning, then you can set it as a warning. So it's up to you to set the parameters for critical, informative, warning. You can set these parameters as per your convenience. That is that will be very much helpful for you. Okay, then the good thing, I'm getting someone has raised their hand, but give me some time. I have only few slides left. I will take these questions in post this slides. Okay, then review NMS overview, detailed log activities. So DV will really give you very information who has I mean it kind of configure. As I mentioned, we have role-based access control. That time it will give you information. In case of anything misconfigured in the project, then product, then it will give you who has done, when has done, where has done, and what that has done. That means due to what changes in the configuration, the things gone wrong. So it will give you that information, because if somebody changes the information, then the first thing, who has changed the information. It will also show you when the information has changed, where the information has changed, at which location, and what information has changed. For example, if someone changed by mistakenly VLAN 10 to VLAN 20, okay, and for that VLAN 10 users are experiencing disconnection. Okay, that time it will give you all this information, that who has done, where has done, and what has done. Okay, so that time VLAN, you can again change from VLAN 20 to VLAN 10 and roll back the network. Okay, so it is very easy, very convenient, very flexible for you to understand the network monitoring and the management with D-Link NMS. This is a kind of topology you can see, where all I'm just giving you one example of already deployed network. These are basically the red nodes are basically not reachable, and green nodes are reachable. Okay, all green nodes are basically configuring the ring. You can see that multiple rings are there. You can see multiple rings are there. These rings are basically will give you will give you convenience when one primary link down, the traffic will start flowing through the secondary link. So every ring, every parameter of the network can be managed and monitored. So this is again one more example which will be given to you. This is one of the ring, one's stipulated ring can be given. Now let's head towards the DB8 network management system demonstration. Santosh Yadav, I have Santosh Yadav with me. He will take us through the demonstration part. But before that, I would like to address the queries raised by. Just let me check who has raised the hand. Anshu Sharma. Okay, Jamil Ansari. Hi, Jamil. Mute. Jamil, you there? Yeah, I already unmute you. Can you please speak? You need to unmute yourself. Hi, Ashish. Any queries?
No, sir, no.
Yeah,
No
hi,
query.
Jamil. Yeah, tell me, Jamil. Hello, Jamil. Can you hear
Jamil
me?
sir, आपको एक second. Are you? Yeah, yes, available.
Hello,
Yes,
I'm
sir. Bolo,
available.
Jamil. Bolo. Tell me. Yes, Jamil, I can hear you. Go ahead.
मैं available है. हाँ. ये headphone use करो. आवाज आएगा.
क्या बोल रहे हैं?
जमील, आप
आपसे
मुझे
बोल
सुन
रहा हूँ.
रहे हो?
आप भी available.
Hello.
Yes, Jamil, Bolo. I can hear you.
Yeah,
Tell me.
yeah, I am available. That's why my mic was not working. That's why I raised my hand.
Okay. So, but you don't have
No,
any query means, right? As such.
no.
Okay, you are able to understand everything what I am saying.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, so I'll begin the presentation. So today's agenda will be how to configure your network. So in this, we'll configure some network devices, and we'll use this SNMP data to analyze your network, customize your network, manage your network, and how the topology works in the SNM in the DVU device. And along with that, we'll know how the DVU800 works as a syslog server, and how we can manipulate and configure event management to know what happens in the network, and how we can overcome if we have any issues, or if in case we have to troubleshoot some network issues. So in this, as Sunil sir has explained how everything works, so in this I would like to add some points. How you can multi-tenant capabilities. In this we can create multiple users, and we can decide which users can do what, what type of activities like read and write. So what user can do what, and the other users what they cannot do and what they can be done, that they can do. And in centralized management, centralized reporting, we can also customize what type of reporting we want. Wireless traffic, wire traffic, your port link up, down, inventory report. This all can be centralized reporting. You can configure it and you can schedule it as per your requirement. And we can also have an option of another server which can be added into this DVU800, where we can send all the centralized reporting. So let's begin to the next slide. Okay, so let us learn how DVU800 works in a local network. So the protocol which it uses in a local network are SNMP. Telnet and SSH is basically to push the command line configuration through CLI. Then we have syslog. Syslog basically are logs which are generated on the end device can be stored into the DVU800. Then again traps which are generated by the SNMP agent devices, and the S flow. Using the S flow, we can learn what type of traffic we have in our network. can be HTTP traffic, YouTube traffic, your FTP, SFTP. Those can be monitored through our NMS. So basically, we have our dealing devices, which will be your routers or switches, CCTVs. Third-party device can be a server, Linux server, a Windows server, or Cisco devices or Aruba devices. They can be added into it. So this all can be monitored using our DB servers. Our DB server, when we install a DB server, we have these 3 servers installed. One is the local probe, which will collect all this SNMP data. Then we have a web server, basically our HTTPS server, which is displayed over the display, and the core server. So now let's learn how to use DB800 in a wide area network, where you have a different branches, and how we can add these different branches into a centralized management branch. So here in this example, I've taken Mumbai as my main branch, where I'm going to monitor all the branches. So in every branches, we'll have to install a local probe server. So this remote probe server is a DB probe server, which will collect all the SNMP data from the end nodes, and it will forward it to the main core server. So for this, we need to have a dedicated connection like MPLS, or we can have a VPN, or we can have a port forwarding. So you need to provide the reachability between all this network to let the DB learn how everything works. So this is just as explained by the Sunil sir. This is the topology I'm using. These are the configuration SNMP v3, v2 for Cisco and for D-Link. So the commands are pretty similar for both Cisco and the D-Link. We just have to enable SNMP. And if you want to enable v3, we have to define the encryption parameters and the key length what we'll be using for the encryption. So this part here, we'll learn how to add SNMP credentials into DB800. So for this now, I'll start with a live demonstration. I'll show you live how you can create all these details. Yeah, so this is my dashboard. This is the DB800 interface. So to add the SNMP credential, you'll have to go to setting, basic setting. Here you'll have the credential details. So I've already added the SNMP v2 profile. So I'll show you how to add it. This is my default SNMP v2 configuration. So I've used name as D-Link for both public, for read and write, and for read only. And now let's add some devices into my DB800. I've already configured my switches. I'll show you the configuration. Yes. So this is my SNMP configuration for V2C. My host server IP is 10.006 for my SNMP. I've enabled the traps. So let's add the device into the SNMP. So to add the device, you have to create a local site. You have to define your network, your SNMP credentials. So I've already added a network here, a local network. This is my local probe, and this is my IP range in which I have this SNMP configured device. And I'm using SNMP v2c protocol. So once you add this, and when you click on save, it will start scanning the SNMP devices. So it will show you all the SNMP enabled devices. Hello. Yeah. So I have currently 6 devices into my network. So I have 3 switches. I have one access point. I have one router, that is a Cisco router, and I have a host machine, that is my Windows 11 machine. So here you can see all this device. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just I'm changing my theme to this theme. Okay, so I have all my devices added in DB8 now. So I'll start with my 3130. So this is how the switch summary page looks like. I have all the information. This is my device basic information, system model number from it, system capabilities, in which network I have this device, which is the site, device IP address, vendor name. I have CPU utilization, memory utilization. This is availability. Here we can add some additional information if you want to. Then device health details. I have 4 fans under it, sorry, 3 fans, 1 power supply connected to it. Temperature details. The LCP is not currently configured. When you configure LCP, you'll have the details of the member ports, group ID, everything. And in port, you'll have all the port in the description and port status, port link speed, link consumption. From here, we can enable and disable the port through admin status. Those are port statistics. In monitor, you'll have this system, the switch, CPU utilization, memory utilization, high availability, PoE, response time, temperature details. In monitor view, will show you which topology it is linked to. Again, in the alarm, these are the default alarms which are configured. You can history alarm, you can configure the manual alarms which you want to be notified by the NMS when you have this alarm triggered. In traps and syslog, you'll have trap details. Since we have enabled the SNMP, these are the traps generated by the switch. Again, we have syslog messages. So whatever will be happening in the device, we'll have a complete detail over here. This is under management. We have some quick configuration option here. We can enable SNTP, DHCP server. We can check if it is running or not. We can set this syslog as a DView as a syslog server. Spanning tree can be enabled and LDP safeguard. We can also enable SFlow from here. SSH telnet can be enabled. Since this is a PoE switch, we also have the PoE option here to check how many ports are currently running on PoE. I have an access point running on this PoE port number 70. So here I can schedule power this. I can configure scheduling for PoE during what period the PoE should be power supplied to the PD, so that I can configure. Now coming to the configuration, we'll see how we can also configure our switches. So there are multiple options. We have a batch configuration where we can push one configuration to multiple switches. So these are the quick configuration steps. In advanced section, we'll have some additional these options. So you'll have to create a profile. Say test configuration. We'll add DGS 3130. So let us add some VLAN. We'll make port 12, 13 or like that. Now we have created a profile. Now we need to create a task. Define a task name. Description is optional. Select target device. We can schedule this task also. This will be immediately applied, or we can schedule it when we want to be applied.